Welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Romano. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the topic that concerns our currency, the American currency, and this new cryptocurrency that our governments around the world will be adopting. It was only a matter of time, once we heard Bitcoin come out, that the public would embrace it, and it took, 8 or 10 years or so for the country and the globe to embrace cryptocurrencies. And then we had the advent of other cryptocurrencies being created. The original cryptocurrency called Bitcoin was not just created just to be created, but there was a reason behind it. You see, during the Cold War era, in other words, when the Soviet Union existed, our government had sponsored many programs. And back then, there was a lot of spending that was being done on research, and that was very important. For example, the internet. That was a government program, and that was for the government to use to have a possible protection to communicate with each other. But because of the Cold War ended, the internet, those people who created the internet, those scientists, researchers, they adopted it years later into public life. At that time period, in the 70s and 80s, there was also a currency that was coming out. And it wasn't really a currency, it was more of for government payments to be exchanged between government employees, the military, etc. You have to remember, because of the Cold War ended, all that research went into the public. But it took many, many years later until approximately the mid-2000 to 2010 period, let's say, for those people back then, one of the employees used to work in that group, his own version of a cryptocurrency. And it was actually a better form of a cryptocurrency, a better form of exchange of payments. That currency was called Bitcoin. Bitcoin launched their cryptocurrency, and at first people were very skeptical. I was not very skeptical of it because I knew the future. The governments around the world are trying to adopt their own cryptocurrency, and how will that affect our dollar or our currencies around the world? There's also another big issue that certain people like to worry too much. You have to remember, our government is so resilient and they have so much power that they're not going to just let our government and our society to fall apart. That will not happen. Before we continue the video, please remember, if you want to say thank you, Anthony, please do thumbs up. It's right there. All you have to do is click it, and that will tell me that you said thank you. Secondly, they're not going to let the dollar just collapse. But throughout time, and you know this when you study financial history and history of currencies, that fiat currencies never last. But what doesn't last about them, that particular country didn't last. And so global powers, when they are a global power, such as the American government and our society, currencies that other people around the world, that they save their savings in. However, they don't understand that you don't actually save paper money. That's not normal. You're supposed to do gold coins and silver coins. Now, I've made many videos concerning that you should have at least 10 to 20% of your total worth in gold coins, not gold bullion. Do not buy gold bullion. And there's a very, very good reason for that. Because a coin, a gold coin or a silver coin, is a currency. So a government, when they do decide to change they could very well say, like they've done in the past, that we want all your gold. Of course, they'll pay money for it, but in this case, if you have gold coins, you won't be affected. But you never know when a government says we need to confiscate your gold. You never buy gold bullion. You always buy the actual gold coin. So 10 to 20% of your total savings, your wealth, should be in the gold coins, etc. Now, you have to remember, if you were billions or millions, I know it's kind of hard. There's another type of investment that has a great deal of power and worth to it. And the typical person out there they don't think in a logical way, in a logical path. A diamond is actually the world's most valuable investment and never drops, ever. So when a government collapses, let's say, for example, the gold and diamonds, it never drops. It still stays to its value. So if you really want something that is rock solid and the world's perfect investment, you buy diamonds. And I made a video on this of 2021 about the world's perfect investment. Okay, you could watch that video. I don't know the exact title, whatever it is. But in that video, I explain that you buy a diamond certificate, that's an actual real diamond, and on the side of the diamond brim, you have a serial number. The serial number matches the diamond certificate number. And in that diamond certificate, remember who's creating those certificates. They look at the diamond in and out with an X-ray. They tell you on the certificate where the carbon black dots are. And based on that certificate, you literally have a representation of the diamond and where those black spots are. Then they also tell you the cut and the clarity and the shape, etc. And you could buy a book called the Diamond Bourser book. You have to buy it every year. It tells you the price of the diamonds based on all the clarity, the cut, everything else. I'm not giving you a lesson on diamonds in this course, but I want to explain to you that you shouldn't be afraid to buy diamonds because you're not used to that. Diamonds are only in this century, when Queen Victoria came about, that women wore diamonds, and you gave diamonds, or women were only the ones wearing diamonds. You have to remember, before Queen Victoria came about, the Maharajas of India, the men, wore diamonds around their neck and on their turban to signify wealth. And back in those days, because governments were overturned or taken over by their family members, you had to have your wealth on you, and that was a diamond. And that's why the Maharajas had the most beautiful diamonds there were. It's not just because they're made in India, or they're mostly found in India. It's simply the Maharajas at that time realized how valuable diamonds were. Because you can't carry all your gold with you, because if you have $1 million worth of gold coins, that's really heavy. But if you have $1 million of diamonds, that's only one diamond. A 10 carat one diamond, if it's really good quality, meaning it's beautiful clarity, the cut is perfect, and so forth, then you can take it with you wherever you go. It's so tiny, it's the size of your thumb. And let's say if you have 100 million, well, 20% of that 100 million should be in diamonds. So you should have at least 20 diamonds, 10 carats each, etc. You could even make a beautiful Maharaja necklace. Anyway, let's get serious. So if you're worried about your wealth being sort of watered down, and unfortunately, at certain points of a government's history and their future, the fiat currency does come about. And it's not that it's bad or it's good. You have to think about, why did our government and the governments around the world have fiat currency? You have to remember that the gold supply around the world didn't just explode and triple in size today. It's very difficult to find gold mines, and that's why the price of gold keeps going higher and higher and higher. This is why I made a previous video that you could have bought gold for $1,700 per ounce recently. You should have been buying it, and you should have been listening to me. Just because I'm a no-bun and I'm not super famous, I'm not a trillionaire, it doesn't mean that you need a prominent name like Ray Dalio or Steve Cohen or Ken Griffin to tell you to do these things. I'm a doctor of finance, and I'm not just any type of doctor. I have 2 MBAs in finance and risk management, and I've written over 1,000 pages of research on hedge fund selection. So I'm not just a typical PhD graduate. I wrote a lot. And because I'm highly analytical, I see trends that happen before it happens. I know how to take the dots, and I see where the dots are going to go. Meaning, if you have a chart. So when I post videos and I tell you to buy Bitcoin, to sell, you gotta listen to me. And if you look back in my channel, that's all there. It's posted. I can't lie. Even the SPX, I've explained to you how to protect your assets. All of this is really important. And so right now, there's a lot of issues around our currency. Yes, the government has printed a lot of dollars and our retirements are being watered down. How do you protect against that? Well, you buy gold coins and diamonds, okay? Because those prices never drop. And when we have a stock market drop, diamond prices trade sideways, and as the economy gets better, it goes up. Gold prices spike. So if you lose 40% in your retirement portfolio, if you have 10 to 20% of gold on the side, you don't have to worry about it. Does that make sense? Because the gold price is going to go through the roof. Now, concerning our government printing so many dollars, it's okay. Right now, we are having a change, and that change is our manufacturing sector, whether you believe it or not, is coming back to us. The world as we know it is no longer stable. There's going to be invasions of certain countries, which there's already started, and other countries are going to become more wealthy because of it, and other countries are going to become less wealthy because of it. And because of the US printing so much money, other governments around the world have to do the same thing in order to keep up with the US dollar. That's how it works. We are a global civilization, and we trade and buy on a global basis. However, globalization, the actual mere essence of it, did not work unless each country protected their people's employment, their companies, etc. And Germany and China kept their manufacturing and they continued to grow, whereas other countries, they became weaker. I'm not saying that they got rid of it 100%, but they got a huge percent left the country. It's devastated middle of America because the average person is not working. They're making pennies. Working at Walmart, you don't get rich doing that. But if you have a steady job and you're able to save money and buy a house with cash, because of your employment, you're a skilled craftsman when you work for a factory. For example, there's only a certain amount of people that stand at that particular tool machine making that product. So whereas someone who works for Walmart, you're working in retail, they could get anyone. That's why retail, you're paid so low in retail. But at a factory, it's a little different. And so right now, we are having a big change that's happening. You don't see it like I see it. The fact is that because we had the World War II, okay, in the mid-1940s, our government became a world leader. I've mentioned this in other videos. But you have to remember, that happened because of the atomic bomb was created. And it set us on a path of where we are today and the issues that we're experiencing. It actually wasn't a good idea that we became a world leader. We should never have been a world leader, but it happened. And it affected our currency supply. What happened was, at that time, the dollar was backed by gold, and we didn't have such a fiat currency, but we had a currency to an extent like that. During the mid-1940s, after the war that was over in the 50s, governments that were devastated in Europe and in the Asian Pacific needed funds. The American government lent them money to rebuild their civilization. However, that wasn't free. The American government said, if you want to borrow money from us, you also have to buy our products. Doesn't that sound familiar? And because of that, it created a manufacturing boom in America that we had not seen until after the Civil War. Because of the Civil War in America in the 1860s, the 1870s in America were a roaring economy because you needed all that wood and bricks to rebuild. But then by the 1880s, 1890s, things slowed down. So then in 1950s, 60s, America seen a manufacturing boom because of the other nations needing to borrow money from the US, and our government created a deal with them that says if you want money from us, you have to buy our products. You have to also remember in the 1990s and the 1980s and the 1990s, when manufacturing started to leave our country, there's a reason for that. Because other countries around the world did not need so much loan from us. So our country couldn't sell products abroad, and it became a point where they weren't being forced to. So from there, you had in the 1980s, it was apparent that manufacturing was going to leave America. Our government decided to change their motto. Instead of trying to lend countries money and force them to buy our products, we'll have free trade with you, but you have to do what we want. And then it became a point where we were fed the notion, the ideology, that globalization was taking over and we had no control over losing our manufacturing, and they told us that it was too expensive to make products in America. The fact is that our washing machines are made with a robot. Just like a car manufacturing makes their cars. It's mostly robots. Yes, you have thousands of people work there, but it's not like Henry Ford era where you had millions of people working in the industry. It's a very small percentage today. The companies are able to offset that cost of high employment because in certain departments you need the human brain and the human logical being as of today. I'm sure in 50 years you probably will have computers and robots that are connected to each other, that you'll be needing less people making products. But remember, the price of the product will go down enormously. So in the future, products will cost less. But as of now, our government is changing it once again. So we were led to believe that it was too expensive to make products in America. And the government said to other countries, you can take over our manufacturing, but you have to do what we want. From there, we became the world policemen, and we were going and defending all these countries. But you need money for that. And that's why today we have a huge deficit. Do not worry about our deficit, because our deficit will be paid off, but a good 10-year period once we bring manufacturing back to America, and that's what's happening now. Our government has changed the role once again, and they said, okay, the real estate boom and the real estate sector can no longer increase the prices because people can't afford to buy real estate at $1 million per house. So if you're just getting married and you're in your 20s, can you afford to buy $1 million house? No, you can't. So now, in previous videos, I explained to you real estate was dropped by 30 to 50%. Now, I'm not saying 50%. That's Ray Dalio and all those other people that are saying 50%. And after I analyze that and I see what they're pointing out, that's very probable to happen. Because what's happening now, the government won't be there to control real estate prices and to help the real estate market because of interest rates have to go up. Because our currency is being watered down, they have to make it more lucrative to buy our currency, to hold on to it, and that's why interest rates have to go through the roof. And so this time around, I personally believe interest rates will go higher than the 1970s and 80s, much higher, because of how many dollars were printed, how much our government debt is, etc. But you have to remember, our government is so resilient. You don't realize this, how organized they are. They look like a mess on the political side, but behind the government, who's controlling things, they're very organized. And so always have faith in our country. Remember. 2. So as the manufacturing sector comes back and all that tax dollars comes back, remember, when you buy a product here, when you sell a product, when you make a product, that's all tax dollars that goes to the government. 20 trillion or 30 trillion, whatever it is, that will get paid back within a 10 to 15 year period. And trust me, I know what I'm talking about. That's why our government's bringing back manufacturing to America. And so once again, you're going to see Europe and every country bring back their manufacturing to their own country. And this will happen. And there's a cycle that takes place. It's around 20 to 25 years, okay? So as they bring back their manufacturing to their own country, this is why if you have money, you need to go build a warehouse and you need to start making a product wherever you are in the world. Any product that you could basically, that people need on a daily basis. So kitchenware, anything that people use in their house, etc. That's what you should be focusing on. If you don't have $1 billion like the owner of Tesla to create a car manufacturing, or $100 million to create whatever. So if you only have a couple $100,000, you focus on household items. So as that manufacturing comes back, it'll take around 20 years for us as a society to exhaust our manufacturing. 20 to 25 years. And what do I mean by that? Okay, what I'm talking about is that, so as manufacturing comes back, we start buying our own products, but at a certain time, the scale tips. So we could, as a society, could only buy a certain amount of our own products being made in our own country. After that, in order to continue to make money and to grow, we need a surplus. In other words, we have to sell our products to outside the country. So right now, we are going to pull back the money to our country by making products and selling them in our own country. And so that takes around 20 years or so to 25. And then at that time period, you're going to see us trying to sell products outside the country. And so now is your chance to find a product that you want to make. You can even print 3D ceramics. So you can make ceramic cups or household bowls and plates, whatever you need. You do not need 1,000 people to work. You only need a couple of dozen. Because you could also sell it on Amazon and have your own Amazon seller store. So you could make the products yourself and you could sell them yourself. So you're making the retail price and the manufacturing price. So you don't need to make thousands and thousands every day. You could make a small amount and make a lot more. I want to thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed my video. And if you like my channel, please remember to subscribe to my channel. This way you get my updates. And please remember, if you like my video, do thumbs up. It's right there. All you gotta do is press it. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much.